Good afternoon, everybody. This is Mark, and we're back here for the daily recap. So it's Tuesday, as I've been saying, abbreviated week. Seems like light volume, but we're getting some movement, I got to tell you. You know, I think on the chat, the one thing I will say is we're getting a two-way tape. I think in general, we're hanging in there. We're very intact. But it seems like midday, today was actually the morning, we're getting a sell-off. The sell-off was, in my opinion, geopolitical, with the Russian-Turkish situation, and then, you know, President Obama and France's president played it down a little bit. But overall, we bounced back very nicely, and, you know, no harm, no foul. High beta took a little break today. You know, you had Google and Amazon definitely taking it on the chin early on and came back. But you can just see Amazon, I think, was down 20 bucks, 18 bucks, almost tagged its 21-day. To a T, or 8-day to a T, and then came right back. So it's still intact. I think a little back and filling is probably in place, a little digestion. I think as much as the same with Google. You know, actually went below its 8-day, but came back above. And red day, but overall was intact. NFLX, same. So high beta, Facebook also same. Little lackluster, but it's between its 21-day and its 8-day. It's still fine, but lackluster for the time being, and that's okay. Maybe it's because it's the holiday week. Not really sure. We'll have to wait and see. Priceline and Expedia got hit actually today. I think most of it was the travels with, you know, European travels, terrorism, but that recovered and basically almost regained its 200-day almost. But so it's right there. I think that could have been a short-term bottom. I'm long a little bit overnight. Expedia holding this level, same type of trade, but it's not the best looking charts. I like to follow the best looking charts out there to really get involved and really talk about. Banks had a little bit of an uptick early, nothing really to talk about. You know, they reversed Green Day, Goldman, JP, but really no telltale sign that, you know, all clear. USO rallied oil early. Most of it was obviously because of the geopolitical news. So you had the USO, you had the OIH. That actually doesn't look terrible at this point in time. It's looking a little bit more constructive. Chevron, Schlumberger. So just, you know, take your pick. They look a little better. I don't see the need for them to rally towards the end of the year, considering that they've been down for most of the year. So I'm not so gung-ho about it. I still think the FANG stocks are in play. You just got to figure out what days are in play, what days they're not. But overall, there wasn't a lot of damage in the market based on the daily across the board. Some notables that I think, you know, to talk about, SUNE. It's a stock I think a lot of people mention here and there, which I don't really know why, but today there was some news. I guess yesterday there was some news and there was some follow-up today with their bonds and, you know, I think with their debt, some of their debt getting paid off, which I think is one of the reasons that had some issues. We talked about around 330, 345 price-wise, and, you know, closed the day at 412. I think it probably is going to get to this 520 level, 530 level at some time in the short term. Heavily shorted. It's one of those stocks. If you guys remember, I mentioned KBIO this morning, that stock that went from 40 cents to $50 or jumped thereabouts. I said when they gap that down, if it's going to gap down, and it did gap down this morning, most likely that could be, that's a telltale sign it normally continues. I know it's hard to get on the short side, but you can just see the stock now will create a new range. But for the most part, the hype is over. That's normally how it works. Don't waste your time too much on that type of play across the board. Certain biotechs were okay, but, you know, they had a down day, but they reversed. Gilead, CELG, they look like they're, you know, getting to the point where, you know, might be viable tomorrow. So keep it on the radar. JUNO looks a little better. KITE doesn't look bad either for us. But IWM, if you want to look at the indices that actually outperformed today, IWM looked good, regained some key moving averages, and overall, you know, looking like it's, you know, going to try to head higher, as, you know, certainly based on this week, based on what I'm seeing, looks like it's heading higher. Across the board, a lot of, if you look at the bars, you know, on the daily chart, it was a tight day, even though we did have a lot of intraday action. I don't think a lot of damage was done. I don't think there's a lot of need to be, you know, gung-ho, but at the same time, I keep trying to say it, and it's keeping me on track, so maybe it's not the best for everybody, but I'm trying to be very specific with my ideas. Most of them are high beta ideas. buying on pullbacks, waiting for opportunities. I do dabble, and I did today in like the Goldmans, the JP Morgans. I made some decent money in SUNE because it was a trade. But again, they're one-offs. They're not stocks that I play on a consistent basis just because most of the time the charts aren't telling me they're ready to be played, or just flat out long or short, either direction. So I'm going to keep trying to keep my, I'm going to try to keep my ideas to a minimum, but at the same time try to add some conviction to your ideas and to what I'm doing, and hopefully it can help. But tomorrow, a little bit, even less people are going to be there, and then obviously Friday, as I was saying, it's probably a little bit of a ghost town. Doesn't mean we can't have a lot of action. Obviously, you have computers that are running this market at this point in time, so we certainly can have some action. But I think the trend is your friend, and right now the trend is telling us that it seems like we want to head higher. Pullbacks are buyable on key stocks that we've been talking about. Have a good night. I'll see you all tomorrow.